Let's take a look at this monster here. You're definitely stuck in a rock between a hard place, whether it be me or the overall nature of what this is. Violent offenders off the street forever. Well, for sure, I know I'm usually moving sandbags in my garden, right? Because constantly was working defense, find out that the asshole mayor's got Airbnbs and it's just running around. Population's been a monster. They can't do anything with it. They'll lock you up to do slave labor, but, why would you stay there? I mean, the crucible time's not right. Things like that. So they just kill you. There's a few of them in here on Forbes about essentially what that nature is, and they'll play it by satire on the fucking horse shit of how much of that you really fucking control. Like, you want to do that with them, and then these guards have to guard them on an issue. And meanwhile, Officer High, or Drill Sergeant High, you got all this shit going on right here. You got New in Common with getting the pagers on the messages. You got Lebanon here, and these places getting hammered because there was an attack on them. Both ways, a retaliatory is not an airstrike, right? Unless this was the follow up on it, but still. I'm moving fucking sandbags because some asshole in here in town thinks they're high on shit that won't have the cops do the proper addressing models of counselor. No one is talking about the Montauk house, you know what I mean? And because of that, you get a lot of this nonsense. Well, actually, I need to be in here for this. I just posted them up real quick. Okay? You got what is essentially this. It's a great mission. I mean, you can use code communications. They send a message. You can be distinctive and blow it up. But otherwise, some civilian's going to have something. I use quotations here for civilian because I don't know exactly why there were a lot of them. I know America all the time over here does it. There's some giveaway on an Apple phone. They're always giving away Apple phones, which in terms of data communications, which doesn't really hurt most Americans because the data information is just TMI, why they're chasing you and watching you down. And for Officer High, being a cop, they're going to backtrack that as much as they can. That's sensible, at least for conservation of information. Right, I can't know their whole life story, but I got to get to the bullet points and any screws loose about what the build on that is. Are they really what that is? Are you telling me because you're emotionally contagion and then I walk into a minigun? You gotta be careful, man, on what that is. More about the follow-up of, this guy's not our guy. Right? In politics here, that's not our guy. We don't have real tooth to tail ability to Prometheus Lab, the probation theory here, to say you're going to piss off that guy locally. He's not really doing anything. Make him pull his fucking garden, or just have a bunch of criminals down there, or just, hell, arrest him and give him, 2 to 5 years in a federal penitentiary for. And their course gonna snap. They're gonna be fucking livid. And then you got this guy in here constantly getting shanked that's not this guy, or this guy, or the fallout from the information of that thing. I mean, there's still a whole thing. These people, they don't die for 3 to 7 days on food, right? They'll have other means to getting things, which absolutely lights them on fire, and doesn't really kill their leadership, and yet doesn't really model the correct way to handle a population issue. Well, firstly, again, pamphlets out the Enola Gay about what sensible Vitruvian man and woman standards are on what it is. I mean, a lot of it's cultural and ethical, but here I was doing the first grade assessment test standards, like where you got to be in a year of kindergarten, and there's like 380 fucking points of 3 different 80 types of the same diagrams, where if you look at them and range their complication, there's really only a handful of them, but nobody has a good timeline on it. Nobody has ever tried the experimental data to see what works, and I'm glad that these missions work. Destroying things are often way easier than building them, because a lot of times in order to build something, you got to destroy it. There's something that was there first. So again, got kind of caught between a rock and a hard place on that one. Obviously, there might be a mechanism, the way money works, the way how much food can be produced. Obviously, if you got to keep those people alive, that's what you're guarding, right? It's a super critical infrastructure thing, even though it's not electricity. And, that comes up to certain building sections that I needed people here because I can't have them necessarily displacing somebody else. Because then I'm just showing up with the Roman guard with Jesus 3 days early high. I mean, what the fuck, brother? I'm just busting his balls, but... when you're looking at something like this and you listen to somebody talk about what it is, and you hear them say, you don't really understand fully. I'm sure you do. You're way up on high and had to get your shit kicked in a couple of times about this, but you really don't understand the human operation, nor the fucking Warhammer board here, that would require you to do something like that. Because you would need a larger population, the number of cops you have, the way excessive force charges aren't assault charges, the way that property owners maliciously raise leases or terminate somebody is an Eighth Amendment violation. These people aren't fucking lynched for that, but they already have the high ground and soldiers that are already paid to do things. And for the most part, the soldiers are fucking retard. They don't know where their money comes from. McDonald's don't know where their lettuce comes from. And you fucking wonder. You just ask me why a guy like me would just shoot up the place for the nonsense inside here. Because I'd love to go fight. I'd love to be a soldier. But what would happen if I was that soldier and I knew some of these things? In Code Red, maybe?